Raptorman and Zed here, and last episode we built our grain silo and expanded the city slightly, setting the stage for a deeper expansion of the city and working towards self-sufficiency. This episode, we'll build a rail yard to help support our city's industrial rail infrastructure, and add a coal power plant to finally be self-reliant on a local source of power. Additionally, we'll add a small strip of commercial to border our newest residential expansion to the south because we are in desperate need of workers in the mining and commercial industries. This episode will be considerably longer as I experiment with slower time-lapse speeds to make it easier to watch and observe as I detail the city. So, if there's less voiceover work, it's because of this and some recent restrictions on my free time to create these videos. With that said, let's get working on the city. When I settled, I wanted to create grids that grew from the train station and the industrial zone to give it an American West vibe. And in the early days of towns in the West and Midwest, cities existed because of the railroad, and all of them will have a basic template that city planners followed. Here, you'll see me clear the land and experiment with different formats and details before settling on something I felt worked best for the location, and was as realistic as my skills could portray. Deciding where to build the power plant was exceptionally hard to do. I considered many factors such as proximity to the silo, realistic train access, and overall look of the area. I settled on pushing the plant as close to the quarry as I could, because it seemed to feel right. I also looked at real-life references of cities in Michigan where coal plants existed in a shocking proximity to food processing industries. While I'm not totally sold on what I settled on, I decided I could come back later and turn this into an abandoned area as the city moves past its need for this type of energy. I figured this would be a great way to build a bit of a disorganized history for the future of the city. You'll notice that I also placed an ore processing facility here to add to the industrial usefulness of the area. The city's main industries will be ore, because of the quarry it's built around, and agriculture. So I want to make sure there's adequate infrastructure in place for when I finally make the city profitable. Part of the look I wanted to go for with this section was to make a very dirty and grungy looking area that's full of coal and ore dust. Real Vision decals seemed to help me just fine there, along with mods that brought back the coal piles as props. I figure it's a really nice touch to add near the smaller coal plant because they often need heaps of fuel to keep the lights on for a region and a place to store it. Again, these Real Vision decals are an absolute treasure when it comes to creating certain looks in the city. I don't think I've ever used decals this heavy in my city's builds, but the game seems to be handling them in stride, and I'm really thrilled that I can absolutely spam these and my system still play the game between 25 and 45 FPS. They look amazing, and you can generally use any photo editor that saves .png files to customize them any way you like. Other parts of this build that I'll show you later use modified curbs from this mod that I changed in Photoshop. Some nice workarounds to the not so great textures the game provides. Here, I wanted to note some of the creative choices I made with the rail yard. While it's possible that they manually unload the coal from these coal cars, I feel like the place I've ended the tracks was a little bit too early. I think I should have overshot the landing a bit to allow an engine to pull the cars past the loader and get every single one without having to split the cars up. I decided that it probably wasn't totally unrealistic to have a setup like this, and maybe it's some extra work for workers to consolidate the cars to unload them a few times. Hence the extra tracks in different locations. I'm not sure if any of that actually makes realistic sense, but I went with it. Something to consider for future builds, I'm sure. Next, we're going to work on the commercial zone for this stage of the build, as it's a small area and I wanted to experiment with big lot stores, like this hotel I've created at this vital intersection for the city. After that, I'll create a haphazard rendition of a McDonald's just to practice creating custom lots like these, and I'll cap it off with a car dealership. For this video, I left out the residential expansion as it's the same technique as the other expansions and I didn't feel it was necessary to make the video longer than it needed to be. Part of what makes these lots believable are heavy use of surfaces to really fill the area. These types of lots in the US are mostly concrete placeholders. Tons of parking, large curbs and grass, and I spent a lot of time trying to get these things to look nice. I also added decals and stains, cracks, to give the concrete more texture, until I start using curb mods I've been making heavy use of yellow and white netlanes to help create a stronger barrier between different surface types. You'll see that I used the concrete barrier sunken into the ground to create a sort of parking bumper to add a bit more liveliness to the parking spaces. I saw some other creators using this technique and I really love that extra bit of detail. These menus didn't make it into the final cinematic because the brand decals the creator made gave me some compatibility flags on SkyV the last time I loaded the game. But for future lots, I definitely want to add to this vibe, and hopefully have an easier time at it. This was the first time I attempted a lot like this, so I'm not exactly happy with it, but it was a good experiment. Finally, I took my best shot at creating a car dealership, which are common in mid-sized cities like this one. Again, there's plenty of room for improvement, but as you'll start to see as I get further along with this build, I'm mostly taking an approach of build whatever comes to mind and try again later with lessons learned. I really just wanted to fill the lot with as many car variations as I could to make it feel like a car dealership, or at least a used car dealership. The vibe doesn't quite seem to fit with me though, as I think the building types missed the mark. But as I said in the last note, we'll try again later with lessons learned. This concludes episode 3 of Monument County. While it doesn't feel like much was accomplished, this part took a long time to build and a long time to edit. Mainly because I'm still working out on how I can efficiently create these lots and honor their true representations. While I'm satisfied that they're close enough, I definitely want to make future builds more realistic as I learn stronger techniques when creating custom lots like these. I hope you found inspiration in this episode, and I hope the pacing was a bit easier to digest this time around. If you like what I'm doing here or want to follow my future projects, which includes progress on a Switzerland map, along with perhaps a couple of tutorials, please give this video a thumbs up, turn on bell notifications, and subscribe. I'd love to dedicate more time to this hobby, so when I grow this channel, it encourages me to do more and it justifies me on the time spent. But of course, as always, until next time, I'm Rafterman and Zed. Cheers!